Every man who's been blindsided in a relationship has the same thought afterward. How did I not see this coming? The signs were there. The information was available. But he was so caught up in attraction, in the fantasy, in what he wanted to believe, that he ignored everything that didn't fit the story he was telling himself. Today, we're talking about how to actually learn about a woman's past before you commit. Not through manipulation or games, but through observation, conversation, and honest assessment. Because the biggest mistakes men make in relationships aren't about picking the wrong woman, they're about refusing to see the woman they actually picked. Let's start with something that sets a lot of men up for failure: early success with women. When you're young and attractive and things come easy, you develop a certain arrogance. You think you understand women because you've been able to attract them. You think your judgment is solid because your choices have worked out so far. But attracting women and understanding women are completely different skills. The guy who's good at getting dates isn't necessarily good at evaluating long-term compatibility. In fact, his success might make him worse at it because he's never had to be careful. He's never had to think deeply about who someone really is. Early success creates blind spots. You stop vetting because you assume you can always find someone else if this one doesn't work out. You stop paying attention to red flags because your confidence tells you that you can handle anything. You develop habits of casual relationships that don't prepare you for the serious ones. The men who get burned worst are often the ones who had it easiest in the beginning. Their past romantic habits, the casual approach, the assumption that things will just work out, leave them unprepared for the moment when careful judgment actually matters. There's a certain humility that comes from a struggle that these men never developed. When you've had to work for attention, when relationships didn't come easy, you learn to be careful. You learn to appreciate what you have and evaluate it properly. The man who's never had to work for it often doesn't know its true value until it's gone. Here's a mistake men make when they sense something is off in a relationship. They try to fix it with games, pulling back to create distance, acting uninterested to provoke pursuit, playing power games to establish dominance, manipulating situations to test her loyalty. None of this builds what you actually need, which is trust and honest information. When you play games, you get game playing back. You create a dynamic where both people are performing rather than being genuine. And in that dynamic, you'll never learn who she really is because she's too busy responding to your manipulation to show you her authentic self. Power struggles don't reveal character. They reveal who's better at power struggles. If you want to know who someone really is, you need to create conditions where they feel safe enough to show you, not conditions where they're constantly defending or strategizing. The irony is that men who play games to test women end up with less information, not more. They've optimized for winning rather than for understanding. There's a particular kind of pain that comes from discovering something about your partner's past that changes everything. Maybe it's a relationship history she minimized or hid. Maybe it's patterns of behavior she never mentioned. Maybe it's something that doesn't match the person you thought you were with. The discovery itself is painful, but what makes it worse is the realization that follows. You didn't know. You committed to someone without knowing who they actually were. You made major life decisions based on incomplete information. Men who go through this often experience real physical effects. The stress affects their sleep, their appetite, their ability to focus. They withdraw from friends and activities. They replay every interaction looking for the signs they missed. This kind of betrayal forces a painful introspection. Not just who is she, but who am I that I didn't see this? What does this say about my judgment? The men who grow from this experience are the ones who use it to examine their own blind spots. The ones who don't grow are the ones who blame everything on her and learn nothing about themselves. There's also the social dimension, friends and family who saw warnings you didn't see, the awkward realization that people were concerned but didn't want to interfere. Sometimes the discovery reveals not just her deception, but your own isolation. You were so wrapped up in the relationship that you stopped listening to people who had your back. Here's something every man needs to understand. Attraction is not a vetting system. In fact, attraction actively interferes with vetting. When you're attracted to someone, your brain starts working against you. It minimizes red flags, it interprets ambiguous behavior in the most favorable light, it fills in gaps in information with positive assumptions. A woman seems quiet and reserved. You assume she's modest and thoughtful. She seems emotionally vulnerable. You assume she's just been hurt before and needs the right man to heal her. She has gaps in her story. You assume she's just private and will open up with time. These assumptions are not based on evidence. They're based on what you want to believe because you're attracted to her. The more attractive you find someone, the more you need to consciously counteract this bias. You need to force yourself to consider alternative interpretations. You need to ask questions you don't want to ask. You need to notice what you're not being told as much as what you are being told. Attraction is the starting point, not the finish line. It tells you nothing about character, compatibility, or whether this person will be good for your life. It only tells you that your body has responded to certain stimuli. Here's a practical test. Imagine your best friend is dating this woman. Remove yourself from the equation. Now look at her behavior, her history, her patterns. What would you tell your friend? The advice you'd give him is probably the advice you should be taking yourself. But attraction makes that objectivity nearly impossible without conscious effort. There's a particular trap that catches good-hearted men, the hero fantasy. She's had a difficult past, rough childhood, bad relationships, maybe some choices she's not proud of. And part of you thinks, I can be different. I can give her the life she deserves. I can be the one who finally treats her right. This feels noble. It feels like love. It feels like you're seeing her potential when others only saw her past. But here's the problem. You can't save someone from their own patterns. You can't love someone into being a different person. You can't create stability for someone who is fundamentally unstable. Men who try to rescue women with troubled pasts often end up damaged themselves. They pour their resources, emotional, financial, temporal, into someone who can't receive what they're giving. They make excuses for behavior that should be deal breakers. They lose themselves trying to fix someone who isn't doing the work to fix themselves. The hero fantasy ignores a crucial truth. People change because they want to change, not because someone loves them enough. All your effort, all your sacrifices, all your patience, none of it transforms someone who isn't already committed to their own transformation. Choose someone who has already done the work, not someone you hope will do the work because of you. The hero fantasy also puts you in a dangerous position. If you're the rescuer, you have to keep rescuing. You can never just be partners. You can never just be equals. The dynamic is set from the beginning, and it's exhausting. You signed up to save someone, and saving someone is a full-time job that never ends. If you were going into business with someone, you'd do due diligence. You'd look at their track record. You'd talk to people who've worked with them before. You'd examine their past decisions and results. Marriage is a bigger commitment than any business partnership. So why do men skip the research? Understanding a partner's history isn't suspicious or paranoid. It's responsible. You need to know about her past relationships. How did they end? What does she say about her exes? Is everyone who came before you a villain in her story, or can she take responsibility for her part in things? You need to know about her family. What's her relationship with her parents? What patterns did she grow up with? What does her family dynamic tell you about what she considers normal? You need to know about her social environment. Who are her friends? How does she treat them? How do they treat her? What do the people closest to her reveal about who she is when you're not around? You need to know about her habits and choices. How does she handle money? How does she handle conflict? How does she handle stress? These patterns don't change just because she's with you now. Skipping this research doesn't make you trusting, it makes you reckless. And the information you don't gather before commitment has a way of finding you after when it's much more expensive to deal with. Some men worry that asking these questions will seem invasive or will scare her off. But think about that for a second. If basic questions about someone's life and history are enough to end the relationship, what does that tell you? A woman who's genuinely ready for partnership won't be threatened by honest inquiry. She'll welcome it because she has nothing to hide and she wants you to know her. Most men don't ask the questions that matter. They're afraid it'll seem intrusive. They're worried she'll get defensive.
They don't want to ruin the mood by getting too serious. But you can learn an enormous amount through direct conversation if you're willing to have it. Ask about her longest relationship. What worked? What didn't? Why did it end? Listen not just to the content, but to how she tells the story. Is she reflective or just blaming? Can she take responsibility for her part in things? Ask about her father. This isn't pop psychology. A woman's relationship with her father genuinely shapes how she relates to men. You're not looking for a perfect relationship, but you want to understand the template she's working from. Ask about her goals and timeline. Does she want marriage, children? When? Do her answers match her actions, or is there a disconnect between what she says she wants and how she's actually living? Ask about difficult topics before they become emergencies: financial debt, health issues, past traumas, family obligations.
These conversations are uncomfortable, but they're less uncomfortable than discovering these things after you've committed. The willingness to ask hard questions early is a sign of maturity, not distrust. And her willingness to answer them honestly tells you something important about whether she's ready for a real partnership. Sometimes people want different things from the same relationship. You're looking for a wife and mother of your children. She's looking for stability and security after a chaotic period. You think you're building toward the same future. She's using the relationship to solve a present problem. Misaligned intentions can hide for a long time. Everything seems to be going well because you're both getting something from the relationship. But when circumstances change, when her immediate needs are met, when something better appears, when the relationship requires sacrifice, the misalignment becomes obvious. Pay attention to what she does, not just what she says. A woman who says she wants marriage but avoids conversations about the future is showing you something. A woman who says she wants to be a mother but has made no practical preparations for that possibility is showing you something. Words are easy. Behavior is evidence. Superficial compatibility, shared interests, physical attraction, easy conversation is not the same as deep compatibility. Deep compatibility is about shared values, aligned goals, and similar visions for the future. Without that, even the most enjoyable relationship will eventually reveal its cracks. Watch for the disconnect between stated intentions and actual preparation. A woman who says she wants children but has made zero lifestyle changes to prepare for them. A woman who says she wants a traditional marriage but bristles at any suggestion of traditional roles. The words are easy. It's the alignment between words and actions that tells the real story. We grow up on stories, movies where love conquers all, songs about finding your soulmate, narratives where the right person transforms everything. And then we try to live those stories. We try to recreate movie moments. We try to believe in magical transformations. We try to force reality to match the fantasy. This is how men end up ignoring obvious problems. The story says love is supposed to be difficult, so difficulty must mean it's real love. The story says people change for the right person, so she'll change for you. The story says true love is worth any sacrifice, so you keep sacrificing even when you're getting nothing back. Life is not a romantic movie. People don't magically transform because you love them enough. Difficulty is often just difficulty, not a sign of deep connection. And sacrifices that aren't reciprocated aren't noble. They're just losses. The men who build good relationships are the ones who let go of the fantasy and engage with reality. They assess partners based on evidence rather than hope. They make decisions based on who someone is rather than who they could become. They understand that good relationships are built, not discovered, and building requires two people committed to the work. Real love isn't blind. Real love sees clearly and chooses anyway. The fantasy version of love requires willful ignorance, refusing to see problems because seeing them would destroy the story. Real love can acknowledge imperfection without being destroyed by it. That's the difference between romance and maturity. Every man who's been burned has a choice: become bitter or become wiser. Bitterness is easy. Blame her, blame women in general, build walls and decide that trust is impossible. This feels like self-protection, but it's actually just a different way of being controlled by the past. Wisdom is harder. It requires looking honestly at your own role. What signs did you ignore? What questions did you not ask? What did you want to believe so badly that you stopped thinking critically?
The men who grow from painful experiences are the ones who extract lessons from them. They identify the specific mistakes they made, not general conclusions about women or relationships, but concrete errors in their own judgment and process. Maybe you moved too fast. Maybe you ignored your gut feeling. Maybe you prioritized attraction over compatibility. Maybe you didn't ask hard questions because you were afraid of the answers. Maybe you saw red flags and convinced yourself they were something else. These aren't reasons to hate yourself. They're information. Use them. Build systems to prevent the same mistakes. Develop habits that force you to slow down and evaluate properly. The pain you experienced can be transformed into protection, but only if you're willing to learn from it. Consider keeping a written record of what went wrong and why, not to dwell on it, but to have something concrete to reference when you're in a new relationship and the old patterns start emerging. In the heat of attraction, we forget the lessons we learned in the cold aftermath of previous mistakes. Having them written down makes them harder to ignore. Some men have been taught that love means accepting everything, that forgiveness is always the right answer, that a good man works through problems rather than walking away from them. This creates men without boundaries, men who tolerate treatment that should be deal breakers, who forgive deceptions that should end relationships, who stay in situations that are damaging their lives. Self-respect means knowing what you will and won't accept. It means having standards that aren't negotiable even when you're attracted to someone, even when walking away is painful. Forgiveness is sometimes appropriate, but forgiveness doesn't mean staying. You can forgive someone and still recognize that they're not safe to be in a relationship with. You can understand why someone behaved badly and still conclude that you deserve better. Men who lack boundaries attract women who take advantage of that leniency. They find themselves in relationships where they give and give while receiving less and less. They confuse being loving with being a doormat. Upholding your standards isn't cruel or selfish. It's the foundation of any healthy relationship. A woman who respects you will respect your boundaries. A woman who doesn't wasn't going to build anything good with you anyway. People show you who they are over time, not in single moments. A woman can say all the right things on a date. She can be sweet and attentive when she wants something. She can perform the version of herself she thinks you want to see. But patterns don't lie. How does she treat people who can't do anything for her? How does she handle disappointment? What does she do when she's stressed or angry? How does she talk about people who aren't in the room? These observations take time. You can't get them from a few great dates. You need to see her in different contexts, different moods, different situations. You need to watch her when she doesn't know she's being evaluated.
This is why rushing into commitment is dangerous. You're making a major decision based on limited data. You're betting your future on performance rather than pattern. Time reveals truth, not because people are trying to deceive you, though some are, but because no one can maintain a performance forever. The real person always emerges eventually. Your job is to make sure you see that real person before you've committed to them. Pay particular attention to how she handles inconvenience, when plans fall through, when things don't go her way, when she's tired or sick or stressed. These moments strip away the performance and show you what's underneath. Anyone can be pleasant when everything's going well. Character is revealed when things go wrong. Every man who's been blindsided had information available to him that he didn't use. Her friends dropped hints he ignored. Her stories had inconsistencies he explained away. His gut told him something was off, but he didn't want to listen. The red flags were there, he just chose to see them as something else. This is the cost of willful blindness. You can decide not to see something, but you can't decide not to suffer the consequences of what you didn't see. The information is usually available. Past behavior predicts future behavior. People tell you who they are if you're willing to hear it. The question isn't whether the truth is accessible, it's whether you're willing to access it even when it might destroy the fantasy you've built. Men who avoid big mistakes are the ones who pursue information even when they don't want it. They ask questions even when the answers might hurt. They pay attention to inconsistencies rather than explaining them away. They trust their instincts even when their attraction is arguing loudly in the other direction. Your gut is usually processing information your conscious mind hasn't assembled yet. When something feels wrong, there's usually a reason, you just haven't articulated it yet.
The men who avoid disaster are the ones who investigate that feeling rather than suppressing it. They ask themselves, what am I seeing that I'm not admitting to myself? The final lesson is simple but hard to execute. Choose from abundance, not from scarcity. When you're desperate for connection, for validation, for companionship, for sex, you make bad decisions. You overlook problems because you need this to work. You accept less than you deserve because something feels better than nothing. Men who choose wisely are the ones who've built lives they enjoy without a partner. Their friendships, interests, purposes that make their life full even without romantic relationship. From that fullness, they can evaluate potential partners clearly because they're not trying to fill a void. They're trying to add to something already good. Superficial charm isn't enough. Physical attraction isn't enough. Apparent vulnerability or potential isn't enough. What's enough is demonstrated character, genuine compatibility, and mutual respect. And those things take time and attention to verify. The goal isn't to find someone. The goal is to find the right someone. And finding the right someone requires saying no to the wrong someones even when they're attractive, even when they're interested, even when being alone feels uncomfortable. Life is unpredictable. You can do everything right and still end up hurt. But emotional intelligence and careful judgment dramatically improve your odds. They protect you from the avoidable mistakes, the ones that come from ignoring information, rushing into commitment, and letting attraction override judgment. Here's what I want you to take from this. Learning about a woman's past isn't suspicious or controlling, it's responsible. You're making one of the biggest decisions of your life. You deserve to make it with full information. Ask the hard questions early. Observe patterns, not performances. Pay attention to how she treats others, how she talks about her past, how she handles difficulty. Don't let attraction override your judgment. Don't try to be a hero who saves her from her own patterns. Take your time. Time reveals truth. The person someone is on date 3 isn't necessarily the person they are on month 6. You need to see someone in multiple contexts, under multiple conditions before you really know who you're dealing with. Trust your instincts, but verify with evidence. If something feels off, investigate. Don't explain away red flags. Don't assume the best when the evidence is ambiguous. Your future self will thank you for the diligence your present self put in. And finally, learn from your mistakes. If you've been burned before, use that experience, extract the lessons, build systems that prevent the same errors. Your past pain can become future protection, but only if you're honest about what you did wrong and committed to doing better. The goal isn't to be paranoid, the goal is to be wise. And wisdom means gathering information, thinking clearly, and making decisions based on reality rather than fantasy. You deserve to know who you're committing to. You deserve to make the biggest decision of your life with your eyes open. And she deserves a partner who chose her based on who she actually is, not who he imagined her to be. Honest assessment isn't the enemy of love, it's the foundation of love that lasts. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Psychological Depth for future updates. Goodbye, and see you in our next videos.